So, we're going to talk a little bit about body systems to get into the idea of pee versus poo. I'm sure you already know all of this, but I found this is something, again, a misconception that a lot of times students have, and then they get confused about things. So, first off, you eat food and you have a lot of different. The reason you're eating food is for this equation right up here, which you're like, oh my gosh, I know that equation. That is aerobic respiration, and that happens in every single cell of my body. Yes, you are absolutely right. You eat the food. That's at C6H12O6. That's glucose. That's a model for all food because, again, not all food is glucose, but your body breaks it down in the digestive system. It breaks it down eventually into like glucose for all the cells in your body. So every single cell in your body does aerobic respiration. So the food you eat is where the sugar, that glucose, comes from. The air you breathe is how you get the oxygen in. Okay. So the food, it gets absorbed into your bloodstream in your small intestine. So your blood goes by the small intestine and all it goes, and there's a uh, lots of contact between the small intestine and the veins flowing through there to grab glucose, and it transfers into the blood. The blood goes to the lungs, and in the lungs it says, here is CO2, my waste. Look right there. Oh my gosh, it's right there. It's a product. So it's the waste from the cells. And then it's like, I need a reactant. I need oxygen. So the blood takes the oxygen. So body systems, and then that blood goes to every single cell in your body, and your cells say, I'll take the sugar, I'll take the oxygen. Thank you very much. I'm going to do aerobic respiration to get energy so I can survive. And then I'm going to give you my waste products. I'm going to give you my CO2 and other waste. Here's the thing, that other waste doesn't just contain this. This other waste, remember, all living things are made up of CHONPS. So it's got nitrogen waste and phosphorus waste and other things like that. And so those nitrogenous wastes, nitrogenous meaning nitrogen based wastes, go then, and we're going to go to the next slide here. And we kind of already did this slide, so we'll review this really. Actually, here, I'm going to go to the next slide here. Is right here then. The blood gives the oxygen and food to each cell, and then it takes the waste. Okay. The blood goes to the kidneys then. And so in the kidneys, they filter out the waste, this nitrogenous waste. Kidneys are part of the urinary system. The kidneys filter out the waste, and then it accumulates in your bladder. When you get enough of it, you go pee. And that's where your pee or your urine comes from. Urine, then, this is when you go to the doctor's office and they ask you to go pee in a cup and get a urine sample. It's a good indication of what's happening in all the cells of your body. So if something's off in your urine, if there's like extra sugars in your urine or other things are off in your urine, it's like something's going wrong somewhere in your body, and then they will start doing more tests. So urine is a measure of what's happening in your cells. Additionally, urine is sterile. Sterile means no bacteria. Doesn't mean clean. It means no bacteria. So if your urine has bacteria in it, it means you probably or potentially have a bladder infection. And how do you know you have a bladder infection? You feel like you have to go pee constantly. And so that is, urine is sterile, typically. So that is what your urine is. So your urine is the waste from the cells doing aerobic respiration. So that is what is in your urine. Then the cells, again, they gave their waste, their nitrogenous waste and their carbon dioxide. It goes to the kidneys. The kidneys filter it out the waste, and then it goes back to the lungs, exhales out the CO2, takes oxygen, goes back to the small intestine, grabs more sugar, and then it circulates again and again and again. So I'm going to go back for 1 second here. So again, this aerobic respiration, it's giving off the oxygen. It's getting, the oxygen from the lungs and giving off the CO2. So again, great equations, aerobic respiration. Got to know it and love it. Every single cell in the human body does aerobic respiration. You're like, but what's poop? I don't understand what poop is then. Great question. So poop here is undigested food. So it comes in your mouth, your stomach, goes through your small intestine. Little bits of glucose are grabbed, and then not all of it is grabbed, and then it goes through your large intestine, accumulates in your large intestine, and then you poop it out. So poop has a lot of undigested food in it. And you might be like, what evidence do you have of that? If you've eaten corn, you've probably seen corn goes out of your poop sometimes. Corn has a cellulose outer shell, and the human body is not designed to digest cellulose. Termites can digest cellulose. Cows, because of some of the how their stomachs and things like that work, actually can digest cellulose, but humans we cannot. So since we can't digest it, then it passes through us. If we chew up our corn, we're breaking open that cellulose shell, and then we can get to the sugars are inside and we can eat that. But if it's just the whole kernel of corn, that's why it's going to go through you, because we cannot digest it. Other thing, feces, again, so in your large intestine, there is a lot of um, in your large intestine, there is a lot of undigested food. And so there is bacteria in there breaking it down. And that bacteria in there, the conditions actually in your large intestine are anaerobic fermentation, and they're actually making not alcohol, they're making typically methane. So that's when you have a fart, it actually contains a lot of methane. And there's a lot of bacteria there. So remember, your poop is not sterile. This is why when a kid poops in a pool, it's a big deal. When a kid pees in a pool, you might say, well, we just don't know, but it's not a big deal because the bacteria is what impacts human health. That bacteria could get people sick, certain types of bacteria in particular, but the urine really shouldn't get people sick. So that is poo versus pee in a